Hello and welcome to Back to the Boardroom. I'm Greer.
And I'm James.
And this week we're talking all about Formula E. Now I knew when this episode started that you, James, were going to be bouncing off the walls like you'd eaten some blue Smarties from the 2000s because you are a Formula One and motorsport fan.
Exactly like Paul, it seems.
I think maybe you're more of a fan than Paul is, but we'll get to that.
I don't know. He said he hasn't missed a race in 3 years, and I can't compete with that.
Is that the sign of a fan, though? Actually watching every race, or do you need to have an obsession with one of the main Formula One drivers like you do?
Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, I have to stop you already because I wanted to give you an update on that final thought from last time.
Oh, people might still be thinking about the final thought.
Exactly, and it was to do with Virdi saying, I think, that he had like a loyalty card for the Losers Cafe or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't won a task yet, and neither has Phil. So I think my final thought was about how many consecutive times someone has lost a task without getting fired.
Yes.
And I have done my homework, and I'm going to rattle this off. I've gone through all 18 series.
Oh my goodness. Have you had actual work this week?
Absolutely. Yes, I have. So, do you want to hear it? We're going to try and get this through quite quickly. So, we start with series 1. So, Miriam went through 4 consecutive tasks on the losing team and didn't get fired. And then series 2, we had 4 consecutive tasks from 𝗕cie. And then series 3, 5 consecutive tasks from 𝗕cie.
Ooh.
Then series 4 and 5, multiple people got 3 in a row, consecutive losses without getting fired. Series 6, we're up to 4 in a row again. And then series 7, get this. So series 7, the person who had the most consecutive losses without getting fired, it was 5, and it was Tom, who was the winner of The Apprentice.
Also, hope is still there for Phil and Virdi.
Exactly. He only was actually on the winning team 3 out of 11 times. Then series 8, we go down back to 3 and then 5, 3 and 5, and then we get to series 12, where I think it's Francis got 6 losses in a row from the start, and didn't manage to stay in the process. Series 13, 14, they were quite low numbers, really. And then we get to series 16, where there was 5 consecutive tasks from 2 people. 5 consecutive losses from 2 people. Firstly, Catherine, who was the runner-up, and then I don't know if you remember 𝗕cie.
Oh yes, yeah.
Who lost 8 of his 9 tasks.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him, but
we'll tag him in the post on Instagram for our podcast and see whether he wants to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't hold a very impressive record. And then finally, season 17, there was again three consecutive losses in a row for quite a few people. Reese, Bradley, Avi, and Rochelle. And then obviously we're at present day with Phil and Virdi, who are our consecutive leaders.
I can't believe that. I thought it wouldn't be that common to have big runs of losing. Obviously, maybe in the first few, 3, that's kind of understandable. But a few of them are up there with 5. Virdi is still going, so it could work out all right.
Anyway, sorry, I'll let you get back to the show. That's my analysis over.
That's some good analysis. I feel like we're giving you, James, tasks every week now, and you're spending a lot of your week actually rewatching old episodes of The Apprentice, going through with a fine-tooth comb all those details, which I'm sure you'll have more for us later in this episode. This week then, Formula E is quite an exciting challenge or task. Because Formula E, I still feel like it's relatively quite new. Maybe a lot of people watching it might not realise, if you're not a big motorsport fan, that that's something that's been going on. And the candidates this week, they had to launch a brand new team, host an event for sponsors, and then try and pitch for sponsorship by having logos placed on the car. But what they didn't sort of say in the roundup at the beginning is that they had to also create a logo, a video, and a wrap for the car as well. So quite a lot of design and big money being talked about. I think this is one of the first times I've ever heard on The Apprentice them asking for millions of pounds in a task.
Millions, yeah. What we weren't told at the start was there was 10 advertising spots that each team had to sell on the car, which is quite interesting. So obviously the prominent spots, I guess you want to try and maximize the profit. And how do you weigh up the big corporate sponsor to the ones that I guess attend the launch event?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because you've got several sponsors to try and attract without, and because they're going on the same thing. Sometimes if you've got, events or whatever, you're going to have sponsors on this banner or that banner or on the program or said in the show or whatever. But actually on a car, they're all competing for space. So it's an interesting one, and it's a different type of negotiation, as we saw in a lot of the conversations at the event. So if we're looking at teams, 𝗕𝗫𝗂𝗂𝗰, he actually turned up this time to the first bit, the first task discussion. He was there. He wasn't just looming on a screen. And he said that he wanted Flo and Paul to move over from Nexus to Supreme. So there was a little bit of a change. And Flo is seen as quite strong. I thought Paul was quite strong so far. So that's two big hitters moving on to the other team, which he mixes people up. But I thought he'd move some back over to the other one, but that didn't happen.
I thought the same, but it looked like it was just a straight move from Nexus to Supreme.
Yeah. And then project manager wise, we've had a few people that we haven't had speak up as much before in the lead. We've obviously got Paul on Supreme. He is someone that he's been a bit quiet. We've said that we quite like him and we'd like to see how far he gets through the process. And then 𝗕, you admired his style in that first episode, but again, we haven't really seen much of him in that leadership role. So it was good having him put himself forward.
We also had my pick, 𝗕𝗫𝗄𝗯.
Yes.
Wanting to lead Team Supreme, I believe.
She tried, but I think it was Paul saying that he actually liked Formula One that clinched the deal for him. So two different styles, I think, of leadership and direction at the beginning. 𝗕, I think he decided from the off that he had a brilliant idea to talk about plastic pollution and the oceans. But how does that fit in with Formula E and electricity?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? I get the loose tie to like you want to save the environment and therefore the sea is a big part of the environment and somehow loosely related.
Yeah, he wanted to be sort of environmental, eco, I get that. But the going for the sea seemed to be completely at odds with the actual concept. I don't really know the connection. But then we had Paul, and he again went down the eco-friendly route. That's obviously being electric. I think that's one of the main draws of Formula E, because it's, I guess they're considering to be a new type of motorsport, but a better one for the environment. So Paul recognised that. He did say, which I wanted to ask you about, Formula E is the biggest competitor to Formula One, which seemed slightly mad in my head. Is it? It can't. I mean, it's not. I don't feel like many people watch Formula E.
I think it is growing in popularity, but I think there are a lot bigger motorsport events out there. You think probably something like IndyCar or other non-electric based forms of motorsport.
But is it MotoGP? Is that the bike?
MotoGP, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got MotoGP, you got super bikes, you got a lot of motorsport that's been around for a long time.
Yeah. What about the Red Bull soapbox race? Is that more impressive than Formula E?
That does get quite a lot of viewing. So
it does, but Paul went, with that statement, but then he said with the design and the concept, be fluid, be creative. He wasn't really clear on the direction he was going for at all, and then tried to tie it in a bit later to the sponsors, which we'll discuss. But yeah, two very different styles there. One not really related, and then Paul was just trusting his team.
So now it is time for the infamous elevator pitch. For those of you who are listening for the first time, this is the point in the show where we put 60 seconds on the clock and test mine and Greer's business acumen. So we have 60 seconds to pitch to you, the audience, and potentially Lord Sugar if he's listening, what we would do for this task. So, Greer, you're up first this week.
God, the pressure is on.
We have 60 seconds on the clock, and you're up.
Okay, so this is a little bit cheesy, but I was trying to think of sort of tying it in with the eco theme, but not going down the route of a green car. So I thought it could be, the slogan could be the future of racing, and it can be all about children because they're sort of the next generation. It might tug on people's heartstrings. So I thought the car could be painted with children's handprints. There could be some green in there to show that, this is the sustainable, eco-friendly, whatever, moving racing into the next generation. And I also thought for the video, you could have brought the children to have a look around like the site, the track, and see the cars or whatever, but actually at the same time have talking heads of them saying, I want this for the future. I want to be a doctor. I want this. I want that. Showing, the future is bright and also the future is racing and it's all about the next generation. And again, it's cheesy, but I thought the logo could be a handprint. I know it's not a racing car. It's nothing to do with tyres, but it could be.
Time.
Okay. There you go.
Sorry.
To be honest.
I was smiling because you said the future's bright and all I could think about is the future's orange.
I was like, what have I said? Have I said something embarrassing in the middle? I thought, bit cheesy. The logo might look like it's a charity or something. But I was trying to think of a way that it could be about eco-friendly without going down the route of some of the candidates' choices this time. So there you go. I put some more thought into that than some of the other elevator pictures.
Right. Wait until you hear mine.
Oh, I am
so
excited. Okay. I'm setting the timer. 60 seconds. Are you feeling ready, James?
No, and it's going to be awful, and I do apologise, but let's do it.
I'll click the time ready. Anyway, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I'm going to go completely off-piste, and it's nothing to do with the environment.
Great.
It's actually because electricity is energy. We are going to go with a very, I guess, high energy drink concept. And I don't know why I'm thinking Prime. I've never had it, but anyway. But the thing that I thought is all the bottles of that energy drink is a different color. So have a car wrap that's like chrome or something where the colors change. And just, I don't know what the logo would look like, but it's all about not electricity as such, but energy. So just a minimalist logo, I don't know, just 3. I don't know. It's just something minimal. And it's
time.
Very hip.
I like it. I am slightly annoyed because that's such a good answer. You were like, I'm off piste, but no, that's so good. I feel like Prime would be the best sponsor to align with, and those colours would look great on a car. As always, do let us know in the comments on our YouTube videos, on our social media, at Back to the Boardroom on Instagram. Whose elevator pitch do you think is the best? Now, I don't want to say it's mine, and I won't, make sure to send you lots of emojis back if you say me, but yeah, damn it, I'm so annoyed. That was really good.
I'll send you a free bottle of Prime.
It's not sponsored by
I
Prime.
won't.
He will.
won't.
Come on. Hold him to that. Now it's time for our top moments of the week. And I've got to say, this week there are so many ones that I could bring up. Just great quotes, ridiculous designs. And I think that's where we're going to start. Those logo designs, how are they always so bad? They have never come up with a good logo on this show, ever.
No, I don't think they have at all. I did notice, again, they were using Adobe Illustrator. And they had on a tab that it just said like cars.svg.
Nice, descriptive.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think, so they were both bad, and they were both a situation of too many cooks, as always. It's doing something by committee, and it always ends up badly because everyone wants their tiny little bit of input in, whether it's a colour or a design. First of all, you had Virdi talking about like eco, exhilaration, and all of that, and then an orange flag, having the world in the middle, but make sure it's green as well. And I didn't even realise until pretty much at the end that they'd spelled exhilaration wrong.
Yeah, neither me. I wasn't paying attention to that, but yeah, awkward Arctic saviour moment.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that. That was a good one as well. But I think the design was so distracting that I just didn't even read the words. I just thought, I'm going to trust them that that's all fine. The design is just too mad. So
yeah, I think out of the two, I thought Team Nexus was better. The one that Trey said looks like an 80s 8-bit game, and we lost our branding team and gave it to a 5-year-old with crayons.
Which was so good. But what's worse is that Feluso said that she does such great branding. This is her thing. And Noor was there too, saying she does great branding. Raj too. How on earth that logo? It wasn't even a logo. It was just like a clip art picture with some checkerboard, swirly water on the side, checkerboard floor on the track, a car that was completely out of place, and then a really bad slogan. See, as in the sea. See the rebirth of speed. I didn't like rebirth in there. It made me think afterbirth, and I was not interested in thinking about any of that. So yeah, not professional.
No, but do you know what? If it was a logo for an like an 8-bit racing game, it would fit quite well. To be fair, I'll give them that.
But there was. I just feel like there's too much for a logo. Pick the swirly bits of water, or pick the car. It was just a whole clip art scene. It was just very weird. Imagine if you had to scale that down and put that on a mug or something. It's just weird. I don't know why. I have a quote though. When it was Verdi's team with Moira and Sam too, they said, "Don't do the standard checkerboard. Have something associated with air." Just
I did not hear that.
Put some air on the design. What? It's just we can't see air.
I did notice though, it looked like someone had drawn it in paint. You know, it was like a swoosh, two swooshes. Yeah.
Did you feel sorry for the designers again in this episode? Because usually you think, I hope they're getting paid overtime and double for this appearance.
I didn't think they were too bad this time, apart from one later when they were doing the wrap of the car. One of them looked so pissed off.
So if we thought the logos were bad, the rest of the design, videos and car wraps were not any better. Mainly the mad one came from Paul's team. When they turned up to show off it to the sponsors with a bright orange and green car, and I just thought immediately, carrot. So
I thought immediately that Paul has got his inspiration here from... There was a Formula One team called Force India.
Okay.
And probably about 5 to 10 years ago, their car was white. It was either white or black, orange and green.
Okay.
And it looked very similar. Yeah.
Maybe. See, this will be where his Formula One knowledge comes in handy. And if other people don't have that knowledge, they'll just think that he's had a good idea.
Yeah.
Sneaky. But I thought this was weird. So they went to that first sponsor and obviously came up with a deal. And then he based his design on the sponsorship and thought because that brand is all about planting trees in the environment, they're going to put a massive tree on the front, right where the sponsor's logo is meant to go. And then that sponsor and none of the others wanted to touch it because there was just noise around where the logo was going to be. Why did they think that was a good idea?
Yeah, who wants their logo in the middle of a tree, or as Sam referred to it, as a fart emoji?
Well, they did say, can you put something that represents wind on there? So it kind of works.
There we go, yeah.
But it didn't look like a tree, did it? They distorted that to fit the shape of the car.
Yeah. It looks so tacky.
It didn't look sleek or professional or, future, cutting edge and brand new, fast Formula E. It was not that.
And I have to say, just because I think it's been in the news recently, I think Paul did a bit of mansplaining why a tree was on the car to, I don't know if it was to Sam or Moira, but yeah, it did come across a bit mansplaining.
Not good.
Yeah, he said something about the trees and oxygen. Yeah.
As if we didn't know that. But yeah, I thought it was just, the colours didn't pop either. But then we looked at Trey's team, and actually, the design wasn't bad. Having those sort of hexagons and the blue, and there was some sort of sparkles in there as well, it actually looked a lot slicker.
It definitely did. It was slightly too bland, if I'm going to be honest. But as a base, seemed a lot better.
Shall we talk about the video as well? Because that's still creative, that's still design-based. I cannot believe what on earth was going on. Because I sit and write notes on my iPad. I looked up, and then there's just Raj. I missed, why did she have her coat over her head, reading out some lines? I was like, have I missed something?
So, I have it in my notes. What is going on? Why does Raj have a jacket over her head? And I was waiting for some green screen work or something to be like, that's why she had to have it over her head. But there was no reasoning.
Did she not want to be on camera? Was it some sort of weird soundproofing she was trying to do? Or was she just so embarrassed to be involved to put it on her head? But yeah, I've got in capital letters, why is Raj wearing her coat on her head?
Yeah, it was mad, but probably just as mad as a, what was it? A blow-up tyre and Virdi with a leaf blower.
What was going on? Like, okay, Virdi seems to have got it into his system that he is the best director ever. And I just found it weird. Obviously, I don't see the vision. Both of them are dressed in business suits, Moira and Sam. And they're there with little flags waving. They've even got a big, like, beach...
It's
whatever
like a
it's called.
tyre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a big rubber ring tyre, throwing it to each other, being like, this is exciting. Formula E is great. Didn't it just seem like one of those horrible old scenes in movies that just look so archaic now of like people on spring break in their bikinis, like jumping around in the sand? Like it just looked a bit like...
It was...
I don't know. And then he's there with the leaf blower on the floor and I'm like, this doesn't help. This looks seedy. This looks like it's going to turn into some adult film. It just looked bad.
There was a couple of things with DJ Virdi.
DJ Virdi, I love it.
That I got, which I thought was hilarious. Right, one of his quotes, he said something about spitting the facts, and he kept going on about energy, and I just kept hearing in my head, the meme or reel that is quite viral. That's like more passion, more energy, more footwork. Yeah, and that just kept every time he said energy. That was going around in my head.
That would make a good TikTok.
Yeah, someone's got to make it, maybe. And the final thing is, the thing that I only found out until in the boardroom was that he had used an instrumental track created by Trey in the video, giving him like 7p in royalties.
Yeah, I know. And Trey was on the other team. So what? But doesn't it make you think that Trey has been playing that song in the house and they've all like had a dance to it or something? So Virdi's like, oh, what music can I think of? Oh, the only thing I can think of is Trey's remix. So
That'd be clever. Yeah.
there were also some good moments in the sponsorship pitches and the launch events where they had to talk to industry experts to try and get their brand on their new cars. A few people choked with the actual presentations, including 𝗕𝗂𝗯𝘀𝗰𝗍𝗄. She started her speech and I honestly had to sit with my hands over my eyes because I cringe over the smallest of things. And she was there saying, global warming is a thing. And that's what we heard.
Don't you think it's a bit cliche, though, that the pitch went badly for her and there was the classic cliche mic feedback moment?
Yes.
I feel like...
Are you saying that they edited it on top?
Yes.
Conspiracy. Maybe they did. Yeah, that was a bad speech. I know it's all in the edit, but it didn't start off very well. I'm sure she was nervous, but you've got to put your research and your preparation time in. Otherwise, you'll say things like global warming, which is what it was. And in comparison with Trey, who was more passion, more energy, and went completely save the oceans now and was very passionate and did a speech that even Karen said later on was very convincing. So, yeah, in comparison, 𝗕𝗂𝗯𝘀𝗀𝗋's was very poor. Another thing I enjoyed, because they're trying to talk very professionally and use jargon and things to the sponsors, Paul used a word that I believe is made up, synergizally.
Synergizally? Yeah,
or like, obviously synergy, but he was like, this can work very well synergizally.
Well, yeah. Maybe my vocabulary is limited, but I don't know that is a word.
I'm tried.
Happy to be corrected, though.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, because you said earlier that there was some mansplaining going on with maybe how trees work and photosynthesis and stuff. A little bit of a microaggression was when Flo was pitching and trying to negotiate with the numbers to the client. Phil kept butting in to give some further information, making it look like she hadn't given enough info. And she seemed very annoyed about it. And then for the rest of the task, she seemed a little bit put out on most occasions.
I don't know why Phil... If there was an agreement, they should have... Yeah, you can't be blamed if you were told not to speak and you didn't speak, surely. So I don't know why we just didn't let Flo do that one. And then if it went badly, then unfortunately she's the only one that could be blamed, right? So what?
But yeah, he needed to get his voice heard, even though he was the one that said, oh no, Flo, you do the negotiating, I'll step back. But he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, as we say, we don't know what's gone in the edit, but it didn't look good. It didn't look good, Phil. You're supposed to be my finalist. Our finalist.
Yeah, mine's already got out, so we're both relying on Phil, even though he's not won anything. Let's go back to the boardroom now and see what 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗃 thought of the Formula E teams and the logos and everything. He didn't seem too happy with either side this week, especially with their creativity. I've written down quite a lot of quotes about Virdi from 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗃 this week because he was just so cutting. He said, you've got more claims than an insurance company, which I liked. Yeah. He also said, Virdi, you are not a good director. I don't know where you get this idea from. You're clueless. Which isn't even a joke. It's just a complete put down by 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗃.
Scathing review of his ability, and 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗃 did not cut any corners.
So with Paul's team in the losing spot, he decided to bring back into the boardroom Virdi for his artistic talents, or lack of, and 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗃 because she didn't display the ethos and the brand off to the sponsors as best as she could have done. And I also think her presentation to the sponsors was lacking. Do you think they were the right people to bring in?
Probably, yes. And I believe probably what saved Paul was he did a couple of good things on this task. He really saved it with the negotiation with Tata. And out of the 6.5 million that was secured at the launch party, he did 5 of that. So I think that's what saved him. And I believe they were the right call.
But the negotiation that Paul was involved with Flo in that moment, I think saved him too, because actually they went on to spend more than they had originally agreed in the deal. And that never happens. So
yeah, it was very good, actually.
Some good business acumen from him then. I wasn't sure where Lord Sugar was going to go. I did think Virdi might be the one to go out because he kept going back and forward. He did talk to Virdi to begin with, I think, and then Paul, and then went to 𝗕𝗂𝗂𝗧. And she didn't do very well on the task, but I think Virdi did more wrong than she did sort of just not very well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I did think, half of me did think Virdi was going because of the 5 in a row, and the branding was really let down, unfortunately. Yeah. And do you know what I noticed?
What?
There was no taxi scene this week.
Oh, yeah, there wasn't, was there?
I was very confused.
Do we think 𝗕𝗂𝗂𝗧 forgot her scarf?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't have much to say about the treat this week, apart from disappointment. If I was there and I'd just won the Formula E task, I'd be expecting to be driving a fast car, not skydiving. Thumbs down from me. I thought, it's okay, but yeah, could have done better. And finally, I'm going to rattle this off quickly. I'm going to give you a narrator update, and I'm going to give you the update on the secretary segment. We'll start with the narrator. Fair few hours this week. We had 8 different hours, I believe 7 of which were distinct. So we had 4 a.m, 10 a.m, 2 p.m, 5 p.m, 7 p.m, 7 a.m, 5 p.m. again, and then 6 p.m.
We're getting through them.
We are getting through them, and you will have a more comprehensive update either next week or the one after. You heard it here first. And as for the secretary segment, very boring, very disappointing this week. Rubbish. We saw the secretary 3 times, and there was the same graph with nothing interesting. We've seen that bar chart before, and it was the same one, all 3 shots.
You know, I wanted to see how closely you'd been following this week, because James watches The Apprentice with a magnifying glass and the pause button and rewind to have a look at what's on some of the computer screens or some of the small details. And I was disappointed because I was like, right, I'm going to test him. I'm going to look myself and see what is on the secretary's computer. And it was that same bar chart again. So I was annoyed by that. But I thought, okay, I've got to come up with something to try and test him on. So I thought of a good question. Now, It might be unfair because it's not about tech, but it is a small detail. So we'll see how closely you've been paying attention. Do you feel like you paid attention a lot to this episode, like magnifying glass style?
Yeah, go on then. I'm going to be confident.
Have the confidence of Virdi as a director. Okay, in the boardroom, Karen was wearing some rather fancy earrings. They were quite big. They were very long as well. And I thought, oh, okay, they've got a very prominent brand on them. And I wondered, as you like brand watch as well in these shows, can you remember the brand of Karen Brady's earrings?
Was it Chanel?
Yes, it was! This is insane.
I did notice the earrings really stuck out because they were they were nearly down to shoulder, right?
Yeah, with the big logos. So I thought, we'll see how much you've been paying attention. I can't believe you got that. Now it's the part of the show where I tell you what I've been seeing on social media and looking through the awful tabloids at some of the gossip about The Apprentice this season. So it's time for Apprentice News. Now this week, I've got a little bit of news from one of the candidates themselves who has left. And also, she was my winner for this year. So I'm keeping 𝗕mina's news going because she can win in my mind. But she posted a reel on social media this week all about her time in the audition process, which is interesting. It's the bit that we don't get to see. First day of auditions for her apparently lasted around 12 hours and was super intense. So I wonder what on earth they're going to be doing. It looked like she had photos of them all sat around with their business plans, lots of cups of coffee in paper cups. They were probably being put through their paces to see whether they were good TV material, but also had some good business acumen. And what's interesting as well is that 𝗕mina has recently just had a baby. So throughout the whole process, she was away from her very young baby. And so she was giving us updates on how difficult that was, spending all that time in the house. So she said the first audition is the scariest. They line 10 of us up and only give us 30 seconds to say why we want to be Lord Sugar's business partner. We can't do the elevator pitches on 60.
Yeah, that's us out.
My 30 seconds would be, I'm sorry, this idea probably isn't going to come across very well, but... And then the time would be over. So I thought it's really hard to get through. And so she did a second selection process, a third, and an email came back to her inbox and she said there were only 70 people left out of thousands that applied at stage 3. But that's 3 stages. That's quite a lot. Then she was whittled down, obviously, to be in the show. And to celebrate, she had a picture that she bought herself some designer shoes, but she gave us some info that you're not allowed to wear recognisably designer clothing or shoes on the show. Now, do you think that's because of advertising?
Yeah.
And the fact it's the BBC?
BBC, yeah. 100%. I haven't noticed any real logos. I mean, obviously there's Chanel, but
it's fine for Karen.
Yeah. Do you know what I envisioned? Like one of the audition stages is you must have done it where they get you to do like a team working task where you like build a bridge out of spaghetti or something like that.
Yes.
Spaghetti and marshmallows.
Why have I done that? I hate that. But yes, that is exactly what they would have been doing. And then I thought just a last little bit of behind the scenes info from 𝗕mina is she uploaded a screenshot of a WhatsApp thread from her and one of the producers, because obviously she was away from her young child and she had been breastfeeding. And I thought this was a very interesting request. She actually asked the producers to bring to the Apprentice house some cabbage leaves, as apparently there's sort of an old wives' tale that will help stop you being sore from breastfeeding. So I thought, interesting requests coming from the house, but they really do seem to get all their needs catered for, really. But it must have been a hard thing to do, going on The Apprentice, getting that opportunity if you've only just had a baby.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess you can't... The auditions and the time of filming must be so far apart that you can't really plan too much around that. So, yeah, tough.
Yeah, it is. And if you get on, there's a great opportunity, so you've got to take it. But yeah, it sounds like a tough one. And I bet she's kind of glad to be back home with her family now, but she probably would have also preferred to have the investment too. So that is episode 5, all wrapped up. Formula E is over. I thought it was a great episode.
We're across the line. Sorry,
Yes.
I had to get that in.
We've crossed the line. I should have let you do this. But yeah, I thought it was a great episode. Something really creative and new that we haven't really had before. So it was a good one. But next week, can you believe it? It's another food-related task. That's 2. Or what? In the Highlands, there was food as well at the beginning. So there's been a lot. The candidates are having to create their own cereal brand. And it looks like there's going to be some more terrible designs and some terrible flavour combinations, which I love. Now, don't forget, if you want to find out some more about Back to the Boardroom and see what we get up to in the week and get some clips, then follow us on Instagram at Back to the Boardroom and follow us on Spotify. Click subscribe on Apple Podcasts and YouTube, and you'll get notified with our next episode. Now, James, do you have a final thought for us this week?
I guess my final thought this week is a 2-part. Firstly, is Virdi really deluded, as Alan says? And will anyone ever make a good logo on The Apprentice.
They've got another chance next week, so let's see.
Will it be Virdi? Who knows?
It could be. It could be his redeeming moment, a win finally for Virdi. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week. Bye.
Bye.